Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Transcend, the Thinking Christian Talk Show, where we are unlocking truth and transcending lives. Today we have with us a lovely guest. Her name is Kandice Smith. She attends Kingdom Life Ministries, and we will be discussing the topic, Changing the Game, the Faith of a Young Achiever. That's right, Changing the Game, the Faith of a Young Achiever. Please join us, stay tuned, and I am sure you'll be able to gain some little nuggets of wisdom from a wonderful young lady, Kandice Smith. Welcome, Kandice.
Thank you for having me.
So, Sister Kandice, I didn't want to start off with stating the obvious, but let's just do that. Okay. You are the daughter of the bishop, but that's not all there is to you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am 30 years old. And I have been in church my whole life. Mm-hmm. I went to school at Carleton University in Ottawa, did a 4-year bachelor's degree in communications. In ministry, I have been a choir director since I was 17. I've done stage plays and productions. I produced a film. And in my career, I'm still working on a career change, but I'm also a landlord and I manage a rental property. So that's kind of the things that I do.
At 30 years old, any one of those things would have been a major accomplishment for somebody. And you just listed off 5 things as if they're nothing, but yet still you are able to manage all of those things while still working in the ministry.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What did I say, guys? You are going to be gaining little nuggets of wisdom. This is an episode called Changing the Game. So Sister Kandice is doing so many things, but yet still she has found a balance in life. Could you please share with our audience some of the notable achievements? You just listed them, and how your faith has played a role in achieving the different things that you now have on your plate. You are not only the choir director, but you said you have done stage plays. Mm-hmm. How many?
I did 6, I believe.
6 stage plays?
Yes.
So you were the director of the stage plays?
Yeah, so I wrote, directed, and produced 6 stage plays between the years of 2011 to 2016 or 17, around there.
Okay.
And it was my passion that I fostered since I had a passion for plays and productions, and one of my inspirations was Tyler Perry. Mm-hmm. So growing up, seeing how he was able to do productions, I was really inspired to be able to write and do things myself. So I was able to do that in ministry, and my home church, Kingdom Life Ministries, allowed me to have the opportunity to create a space of creativity and art, mm-hmm. And involvement where people were able to come to a 3-night production for about 5-6 years in a row, back to back.
That is awesome. So I know the production of such an event, I know it's not any small event. It's mm-hmm. always major. I've seen, I think, a couple on YouTube, and it's mm-hmm. always done professionally. It really is like watching a Tyler Perry stage play in person. The production, the singing, the musical instruments playing in the background. I believe one of them, it was live. So I know mm-hmm. the quality of the productions that you produce, and getting the actors from church.
Yeah.
So you're able now, you're not just working on your passion, but because of you stepping out, you're able to foster even other people's passion in the play.
That is correct. All of the productions that I've done, the singing and the music, were all live. Mm-hmm. Live band, live lead vocals who are also the actors, live background singing as well. We just hid the background singers behind the stage props and everything. So everything was live, and it required a lot of people. And knowing that at the age of 18, I think I was 18 or so when I did the first play, having to direct and manage 30, 40 people at such a young age, and having to make very tough decisions, and having to have a business mind in a mainly volunteer. There's a few people who did get honorariums, but having to have a business mind in the midst of it was a challenge, and mm-hmm. A lot to learn mm-hmm. at such a young age. My very first play that I did, I had a cast of 15 people. and half of them, or more than half, were older than me. They were in their 40s or 50s, and they still respected me as the lead voice in the room. And that is a lot, to be able to have a goal, and there's an outcome that you're trying to reach, and having to be stern and be hard and be direct, but also be respectful at the same time, and not allow that passion to consume you, where you end up turning into this mean person. And it's a learning journey that I had to go through at a very young age, because if anyone does know me very well, I do have a personality similar to my father when it comes to us operating in ministry or operating in getting a job done, where we believe in excellence, we believe in doing things right and in order and on time. So being able to go into a room and you're expecting all of this, and we would work on a production for 3 months of rehearsal, 3 or 4 months straight of rehearsing.
Wow.
So it's a lot, and then it can consume you because you know you're not there yet. And there's a few times I had to check myself, and there's a few times where someone had to remind me, okay, Kandice, you're good, and just teach me how to deal with situations better, because it can really get intense when so much people are in the same space trying to get something done, and everyone's passionate in terms of getting to that outcome. And some people who watch the show don't know the sacrifices that people made.
What were the sacrifices that people made? You said you were 18, so an average 18-year-old is not going to be thinking of putting on such a large production, having so many people working for them. So what were some of the sacrifices that not just you but your team had to make? You said that they were volunteers.
Yes. So a lot of the actors are volunteers. We had the actors, we had background singers, we had a production team that did lights, production team that did sound, we had production team that did props, costumes, makeup. So there were so many different areas of the production team. So as much as people only saw, even my last few plays had 5 or 7 actors on stage, there was a total of like 40 people, the marketing team. So there's so many different areas like that. And some of the sacrifices that were made is that I had one actor who lived in Scarborough. And Scarborough is not a fun drive to all the way to Mississauga during the week. And she would drive.
That like 2 hours?
It's about an hour, but with traffic, it could be an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And she would drive to Mississauga every rehearsal. And we would have about 3 rehearsals a week for weeks. And then the week of the production, we had a rehearsal every single night. And those rehearsals were from 7:30 after work up until 10, 11 o'clock.
Wow.
And then the night before the production, the very first, so let's say the production starts Friday, the Thursday night, we would have that rehearsal, unfortunately, from 7:30 until like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. We would have actors and production team in the benches of the church taking a nap because people are gone to get food, and then we have to do one more run through again, and we're starting this run through at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And the play is an hour and a half long. So it's a lot of work, people sacrificing their time. I'm so grateful that people were willing to do it for 6 years.
And consistently too.
Yeah.
Because they could have started and then fall off.
Yeah. They could have started. And a few of the actors, because depending on the storyline, the actors change or availability, because not every play fits for everyone, but especially the production team. And the band rehearsing music separately from the actual play, like lines and all that stuff, separate script rehearsal and separate music rehearsal. So the band being able to have music rehearsals with the singers, and the main actors who do sing attending those band rehearsals. So it's just a lot, social media marketing, ticket selling, that's a lot of work. And even the people who were a part of the day-to-day routine of the productions, but they were willing to sell 10 tickets.
Wow.
That I appreciate, because it's so exhausting to do all of that and then still have to sell tickets to get people to show up.
You are telling me that at 18 years old, when did you actually start putting pen to paper to write the play, and then knowing that you're going to need a marketing team? Did this start at like age 6? Did you say to yourself, you know what, I think I'm going to. How did you visualize this at such a young age?
In Kingdom Life, before I was at that age, when I was younger, maybe 10, 11 years old, we used to do skits or plays at church.
Yes.
So we used to do like Christmas plays, and Sister Angie was the head of the arts at that time at Kingdom Life. And I think it was one year, I was probably 14, and I decided to write the play. She directed it and everything, but I decided to write it. If I look back on it now, it wasn't good. I wouldn't think it would be good, but I was given that space to do that. Mm-hmm. And then another thing that we used to do is we used to do skits at church, and that was just more improv. And I was probably 14 to 6, maybe even younger, 12, doing skits at church. So Kingdom Life, because that's where I grew up, that gave me the opportunity to be creative and be in the space of being able to write things by pen, as well as just thinking on the spot and just creating a skit and doing that.
So it provided like an environment where you can just work on different passions that you have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, work on the various creative ways. You also mentioned before that you're a landlord. Now, a landlord, when did you start being a landlord?
25.
At 25. So
Yeah.
you are a landlord at 25. You have the respect of all your tenants, so they pay on time and things like that. Because where I'm from, sometimes if you're not getting rough and tough with people, you have to be a landlord. You have to be so assertive, and people have to have respect for you. You have some tenants that are good, and they don't watch age and they don't watch gender.
Yeah.
But you have some that you have to be rough and tough with. What has your experience been? What even made you think that this is another avenue that you should venture in?
Yeah, I fell into it.
Okay.
Because my brother and sister, my brother was going to school in Hamilton at the time, and my sister was doing an internship in Hamilton. And my father said, instead of me paying rent for 2 of my kids, I might as well just pay mortgage at this rate, So and I think he was going through a midlife crisis or something, because he was just so excited to make big movements. Yeah. He had landed Jamaica that he was excited to make movements on, and then he's talking about a property in Hamilton. I'm like, yo, calm down, So I just think he was going through something. But when I heard him say that, I said, do you know what? Let me just put whatever money I have towards it, It's not that I was necessarily thinking about the market and at least trying to get a foot into it. I don't think I was thinking that way fully. I just said, oh my goodness, I would like to
be a part of it,
I guess. So that happened, and it happened very quickly, because I feel like the thoughts happened January of that particular year, and then by April we got the closing on the property. So they were able to be ready for the summer and then the school year in September. So
it's almost like it's a prime location for students.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it's Mohawk College is right across the street.
That's awesome. So you get all the college students. Yeah. And that's going to be needed. Yeah. And it goes fast.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
It was a good
investment.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's not easy.
What makes it difficult? Because finding tenants won't be hard, because you're literally walking distance from the university. So what makes it difficult for you?
So that's a great question. I've learned quite a few things when it comes to a property. At such a young age, not having to be responsible for anything major, I had to learn about property taxes and paying these certain bills and when things go wrong in the house, because I've had 2 basement floods, and I learned that the sewage system had to be cleared out because on the property there's this large old tree, and the roots of the tree are growing into the system. So I have to make sure that's being cleared out. So you end up learning so many things about a property and stuff like that. So there's always maintenance that has to be done. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is tenants and making good choices, and understanding what comes about making that good choice. And not every choice is going to be your best choice, because I have definitely made a very bad choice that I suffered the consequences of when it came to selecting a tenant. So that part is also hard because I remember at the very beginning, at that particular time, I had 7 tenants in the house and they were all boys. And I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to have all boys in this house again because, you know, they're nasty, they're this, they're that, da. So I said, you know what? I'm never having all boys. I definitely have to have half and half, half females, half guys. So I went through that experience and it was okay for a period of time, but then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And what happened was that the state of the world was in an unknown where people were not required to go to school
in person.
Yeah. And no one knew when the world was going to open up again at that particular time. And I ended up renting to a person who wasn't a student. She was taking courses, but she was more of a working professional. And I wouldn't have naturally gone in that direction, but students weren't interested in
the property,
finding a place to live near school.
Yeah.
Because their school is online.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let me try. You know, at that point, I had a decent experience. I did have some hiccups where, like, I had a tenant who left his mattress on the front yard for weeks, and you know, the city of Hamilton telling me that my grass is too high by a couple inches. So you know, I've had some experiences, but I had this tenant who she was a Karen. If anyone knows what that means, but she just was harassing people and she felt like an entitled woman with her background and her culture. And unfortunately, she harassed me. She was harassing the neighbors. She was harassing other people living in the house where it became unrentable. If someone was staying there for a month, they went to immediately break their lease. Yeah. And I had to unfortunately get a paralegal involved. I hired a property manager actually to kind of create separation between me and her. Yeah. But that was just going left at a certain point. I had a paralegal. We came to a financial agreement for her to leave. So I had to basically pay her to leave. And that was a very difficult and unfortunate situation. But it taught me, and not every experience is going to be the best experience. We're going to have failures. We're going to have things that hurt us where those lessons kind of like sting. They stick. Exactly.
Yeah, it sticks.
It sticks. Yeah. So I feel like I'm doing a better job since that and being able to make good choices when it comes to tenants.
I believe so too, because you sound like you have a business mind. And you sound like you're very flexible, you're adaptive to whatever situation, and you're open to learn. And that's what a lot of people, whether young or old, they're lacking. They're not open to learn. They have something in mind, they stick to it, but if it's not working out, they fall behind or they just leave it alone. You, based on what you have told us, you will work through a situation to find a solution. And that is good. How do you manage staying grounded in your various areas that you have excelled in?
It's not easy. I feel like I have to have an idea of I have to be good with myself first and where Kandice is, and I feel like I have to take care of myself. So in doing that, I make sure that I have time to do the things that I love. I like to travel, do activities, spend time with friends, so on and so forth.
Like a regular young person.
Like a regular young person, you know? So when I'm able to have energy to step away, it helps me to be balanced and be able to deal with the everyday routines. And I have to also know my limits. There are certain times where I've had to say no. And naturally speaking, I'm not one to say no. But I have to say no and be willing to let go of some responsibilities if it's becoming too much for me. So with doing that, that helps me to just be solid and be able to just focus on what I'm doing in ministry or what I'm doing outside. It's and also seeking. I don't really say I have a mentor, but being able to get sound advice helps me to just be firm and just grounded in the decisions that I make, so that I know that I'm confident to go forward with whatever task or challenge that I have to overcome. So that I think that's how I stay grounded. I make sure that I communicate with my parents because they have some wisdom to share and to give. And if I don't have an answer, I'm always seeking to pick the brains of other people so that I'm able to just be solid in all of those decision makers that I do.
Okay, so for the different ventures that you have taken on, how do you know who to go to get the right answers? Other than your parents, who I know you go to for sound advice, how do you know when you want something fixed or you want an idea about you want help with something? How do you know who to go to pick their brains for sound advice? How would you encourage another person to go to persons to get advice?
I feel like you have to be comfortable enough to talk to people. I'm not like I personally am shy, but I'm also comfortable enough in my environment to be open to speak to someone else if that door is open. For example, I will go to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I need to talk to a lawyer or something, right? Because she has a lawyer friend, and she'll be like, okay, and she will, connect me with that person. I wouldn't feel comfortable just calling the person, but she will help connect me with that person. I just didn't have enough, comfortability and confidence to be able to speak to that person, right? So I'm not one to just talk to any and everyone, but if the introduction is made, then I know how to kind of take it from there and just be very honest about what I don't know and be like, hey, this is my problem that I'm dealing with. When it came to the film, that was a lot of networking that had to take place in order for that to get done. But being willing to, once the introduction was made, could take it on from there. But it's just acknowledging that you need help to get connected to someone who may know more than you, because you can't rely on your circle because your circle may not know what you need. They're limited. Yeah. So you have to be willing to say, okay, who knows someone? Send that email, make that phone call, and hopefully you'll be able to get directed to the right person.
It sounds as if you are shy, so there's a little fear there. But are you the type of person who moves with their fear? So you are scared, but you put action behind the fear, so you don't let the fear hold you behind. You're working same way.
Yeah. I think
the reason why I ask is because a lot of us, when we get fearful, we freeze up, or we don't move, or we let the fear control us, or we allow the fear to consume us so much that there's so much doubt that we don't even take the first step. Yeah. But you sound like the type of person who you're fearful, but you're still working towards your goal.
Yes, in most cases. I'm still struggling with that in certain areas of life and of ministry, but I have definitely had cases where I have worked towards overcoming that fear. So, like, for example, there was a time where I was in church my whole life, never led praise and worship until maybe a year before the pandemic hit. Right, and I was when the idea came to me to lead praise and worship, I said, no, I don't do the mic on stage. That's what I said. I said I don't do that, But slowly but surely, I ended up trying and taking a step out and doing it more and more, to the point where now I'm no longer scared when I have to be up there. Like, I don't volunteer to be up there and always be, but now because I've overcome that fear, I'm okay being up there. So it has definitely worked in a good amount of areas of my life, but I'm still struggling. There's still certain things that I don't want to do. I don't desire to, they try to get me to preach. I don't want to.
You did that once.
I did it 2 times.
Oh, 2 times. Okay.
Yes. I don't like that. There's so many reasons behind it. But that is a huge thing that I'm battling with when it comes to speaking in that environment, in that setting. And yes, I'm going to have to speak again shortly, but it's a internal battle. And sometimes when people see you up there, they don't realize how much you wish you were like not there at all. They're like,
I know what you mean.
Right? They're like, oh, you did. I said, no. And then it's just uncomfortable.
But you know what? You don't wear, as it relates to you having fear, if you didn't mention it, I'm sure a lot of our viewers, the ones who know you, would not know. Because you seem so comfortable, so poised when you're up there. Even if you make a mistake, it's not visible to us in the audience, in the congregation. You look like you are comfortable with that.
And that is my problem. That's my problem. Because I'm like, I don't want y'all to think that. Because what happens is, I could approach someone else and try to encourage them to do something. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, oh no, but Sister Kandice, that is what you're comfortable. They don't realize the internal battle that you yourself are dealing with. You're
talking to yourself.
Like, I'm just like, God, I don't want to do this. Yeah. Like, people will come to me, like, it's not that of my own strength that I'm able to do something. Mm-hmm. Those are the moments where you're literally relying on God. Yeah. So if it comes out a certain way, okay, it's not me, it's not God. Your confidence, it's just God. Right. So and you're trying to encourage other people who think, oh well, they have to start. Now I have to realize I have to start encouraging people and let them know, you know what, it's not going to be of your strength, it's going to be God, right? So it's not easy. It's not easy being in those positions, but it's God who makes it look or appear, more than what it really is.
Kandice, so you mentioned earlier that you did or you wrote plays from you were a teenager, starting with the Christmas play. You wrote about it in church and you were able to participate. What was the transition from writing a Christmas play into writing a movie and actually producing the movie? What was that transition like? What in the world consumed you for you to think that Kandice Smith had the audacity to write a movie?
Those are the right words.
Yeah. That's a big thing. And ladies and gentlemen, or transcenders, this is not a regular film where you see it's a camera phone, the hand is shaking, the audio is not good. This is a well done Hollywood production. You can't tell any difference. It is a movie to be seen. Can you tell us a little bit about the movie? And then we'll go right back to my original question. Tell me about the movie.
So the film is called The Protege, and it's about a 16-year-old girl who has a very difficult relationship with her mom. She's battling with personal struggles in school and so on and so forth, but she finds out that she's pregnant. And with her finding out that she's pregnant, her mom wants to abort the child and doesn't want her daughter to, have this baby. But the daughter fights for her child and ends up moving out, living, on the street until someone from her past, which she used to be a Sunday school teacher for her when she went to church, someone from her past took her in and started to build this mother and daughter type of relationship that the daughter always wanted and that woman always wanted for herself, because that woman was a single woman who did not have a family of her own. So they start to build that mother and daughter relationship, and you kind of see their journey of love there.
It was a wonderful film. I really enjoyed it. But what, as it relates to my original question, what in the world were you thinking from a Christmas play, sitting down and writing a Christmas play as a teenager? What made you think that I, Kandice Smith, can sit down and produce a movie?
Yeah, honestly, audacity was a word. It's crazy, and there was a lot of ups and downs. But in terms of how everything came about, when I was doing the productions, the plays back to back, I did a play in 2015 called Favor Ain't Fair. That's also on YouTube. And after doing that play, actually prior to that play, when we were promoting that particular play, we created a trailer that I found someone on social media who's very good at filming and editing, and he and I worked with the actors, and we went inside of my house and we filmed this trailer, and the quality of that trailer was so good that people thought it was a movie. right, based off of that 60-second trailer. So I was like, oh wow, people think it's a movie. Okay, we did the play. The play was a very good production. It's my favorite play, and it was. One thing I could confidently say, it was written very well. Like, watching it back at the age of 30, and I think I was 21 when I wrote it, I'm like, why am I writing about these big life issues that people are having? I don't know nothing at that age. But it was a very good story. And the year after, I had a vision of that same play, but in a movie format, right? Where the same main characters that were in that play, I had a different vision to intertwine them differently, showing similar storylines that are actually in the play, but still having a different storyline for that film. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I kind of drew aspects from that play and created a film based off of it.
If you see the play and the movie, you can see the relation.
Yeah, there's a relationship there. So, and I was telling my mom the vision that I had, and she's like, that sounds like the play. And I'm like, no, Mom, it's not the play. It's a movie version of the play type of thing. But the best way for me to describe it is to write a script, you know? So I just started writing the script. So I wrote the script, and at the time, the person who filmed that trailer, I was going to use him, because when I told him, like, hey, what if we kind of like film something that was an hour and, 20 minutes or whatever? He's like, oh yeah, this would be my budget. I'm like, oh, we could afford that. So I just wrote the script because I thought the guy who did that trailer for us can just do it for us. A year later passes, and that relationship with him to work on this particular script that I wrote, it fell through. So now I have a whole script and anticipation and excitement to actually produce it. And now the person who I thought was going to do it for us wasn't a bit, the relationship fell apart. So now me and my producing partner, Joelle Brown, we're like, okay, we have all this excitement to create this, and we just need to find someone to film it. So this is when we start to learn that there's so many different aspects when it comes to creating a movie, because we were just going to have a one-man job, get this done, and it would have been good enough for us. But now going to someone else, they're like, no, you had to have not only the camera person, but you had to have the gaffer. I think the gaffer is the person who does lights. And then you also need someone who does the slating, and you also need someone who does the audio and has the boom mic. And so all of these different things, and we were trying to like find a one man do it all for us, but it wasn't possible. When we started to do the research, every person who we went to, like, yeah, they're gonna need this, that, and the other. So we realized, okay, we're gonna have to find the person who could do majority of it by themselves, and then hire the necessary people to assist them. So we had a cinematographer who did the camera. He had an assistant person who did all of the slating, which is like the person who does action. The slate is a thing that goes in front of the camera. And then we had the person who does the lights. We had the person who does the audio. And then we start to hire people who are willing to volunteer to do costumes, to do hair, to do makeup. Our makeup artist is someone who actually is in the business, and she was willing to do it for like pennies, whatever we can afford. Someone to do the catering. My friend was able to help assist with catering, and my mom was able to help assist getting people to help cook for us. So when you look at the credits, there's like over 100 names, because we have background actors for small scenes and all this stuff. And we filmed this whole movie in 2 weeks. Wow. Which is crazy, because when you hear about movies being done,
it's months.
Exactly. Right? So we were... And I'm dealing with first-time actors.
Yes, you're dealing with people who are not actors.
They're not actors.
The most they do is take selfies, right?
Exactly. And even then, selfies wasn't even a big thing. Because now looking back at it, because we filmed it in 2015, we released it in 2023, right? So that is, 8 years approximately. So when we look back, I'm like, why don't I have so much like videos of things, documenting our process? And I realized that like TikTok wasn't as big, or like Instagram was around, but like setting up a camera and showing what you're doing that day wasn't a thing. It wasn't the style then. So people did post things on social media, but it wasn't so heavy in terms of how we document every moment of our life. So I missed out in terms of documenting more of the process, but it was a lot having to do church scenes and getting people from Kingdom Life to volunteer to sit in the background. And I'm learning how to direct behind the camera for the first time doing a project. And that was a lot. Learning the meaning of every person, learning lighting and all of this different aspects, sound. And if a fridge is on, let's plug it out because the fridge is making too much noise because the boom mic is so sensitive. And making sure to have the consistency in everything. If the actor's hair was here in the first shot, it can't be here the second time we do it again. When we change angles for other camera from being back here to in front of the person, everything has to be consistent. So it's just a lot that I've had to learn. And it had a lot of ups and downs in the process because right after I filmed it, the film was under my bed for 2 years. I did nothing between 2015 and 2017 because the budget was blown in just filming it because I never realized how much money it would have been required to get it to that finish line. So once we finished the film, I was like, well, I don't have money to edit this. Right? And then,
and it had to be professionally edited.
It had to be edited correctly because it's funny because I did fire people along the process.
Oh gosh.
I had an assistant director and I had to fire him. He wasn't good. And then the one who I actually used, she was amazing and she kept us on time during the filming process because what you don't realize is that 2 hours to film a 5-minute scene can go by so fast. And as a director, I had to learn to listen to her. When she told me this is our last take, it was our last take. At the very beginning, I thought, well, I'm the director, I'm going to decide when it's the last take. I need it to look like this, so we're going to have to wait until it looks like this. It looks like this. But that's another learning moment I had to have with her where she's like, listen, if you're not going to listen to me, then do I even have a role here, right? And what I realized her purpose is to make sure that every scene on that script actually gets filmed in the time that we have to be on set to film it. Because as a director, I'm so focused on the actors' emotions and getting the angles, and I don't realize the time is passing. So if 3 hours have passed,
for only 5 minutes.
Right? I don't have to. When am I going to film the next scenes? The location, we're only booked for today. There's no tomorrow to film back here again. Right? I don't have the money to keep paying people to stay back longer and weeks. So I had to respect and understand her role, and that was a learning experience for me. Right? So that's how I was learning in the process. So but now when it came to 2017, my father's like, Kandice, just finish the film. So we had to find an editor, and the first editor we got, he wasn't good. He wasn't cutting it. You don't realize the way editing is supposed to, you don't realize the way different people have different skill sets in the same thing, or different styles in the same thing. One person could edit it and it just looks boring. And another person could edit the same thing and it just looks like glorious. And you don't realize it, you just think you're cutting and pasting things together. So the first person who was editing it wasn't very good. And what happened was our composer at the time, the person who did all the films and music scoring, he suggested, and he's actually from LA. We found him online. He lives in LA and he does movies in LA. He connected us to someone in Toronto who edits on television shows. And she was able to do it for us on her off time. We paid her. Honestly, the value that she had, we couldn't afford it, but she was willing to, because she believed in us.
That's very good.
As women filmmakers, Christian and all that stuff. So we would go to her house in Toronto and she would put it together. And then after that, the film scorer, he added the music to it, and he added all the sound effects, the doors opening and the doors closing and the footsteps and the water drip, all of those sound effects. He adds that to the film, and then the film gets colored, right? People don't realize that, when we're filming it, we're filming it in basically grayscale. Color is added to the film afterwards. So we actually went to a studio. The studio is called Urban Productions. And the guy who's a colorist there, he does, you go down the hallways of the studio and there's big movies just all across. And, and he was willing to do it for more than, like, his value is more than what we can afford, but he was willing to do it on our budget.
Wow.
And we sat there in the production studio and he added color to it. And then I think one of the last steps that we had to do is we had to do ADR. I forgot what ADR stands for, but what it really is that I bring the actors back into the studio and we have a huge screen in that particular studio room, and there's a huge soundboard, and that sound technician is responsible for timing the audio of the actors, because the actor will be in front of a mic, timing it with the screen, because there's certain things that we couldn't pick up properly audio-wise in the film, right? So, for example, there's a restaurant scene that was a date scene in the film. We were literally filming that while the restaurant was fully functioning and opening, because it was a last-minute scene. We were supposed to film it outside. It was way too windy. We found an indoor location, but it was still noisy, but it was beautiful, but we could not actually use the live audio. So I brought the actors into the studio, and then we timed their mouths with them speaking live, speaking in that moment. And then I would be in the director chair, and I would be directing them how to say the lines so that it sounds as smoothly as if they were actually there.
Wow.
So yeah, those are just some of the processes. And then the pandemic came. And when I was ready to release the film, because we finished all of that in 2019, 2020 was going to be the premiere, but the pandemic came. And I had trouble trying to find a theater that will host at least 200 people.
All 7 feet away.
Exactly.
This time we couldn't be sitting beside each other.
We couldn't sit beside each other, you know, at 50% capacity. And yet the place still wants to, they want to charge you full price. Because I would have done multiple screenings if it wasn't the full price. But they're saying, yeah, we're going to still charge you the full price as if, you know, it was the capacity, but it's only 50%. So that was the struggle. And I wanted to just do it one time, one event, let's just get it done. So I ended up waiting 3 years for it to happen. And then now my current struggle is that it is on Amazon in the US and in the UK, but it was supposed to be on Amazon in Canada. And it has just been a battle where that has not been successful. And I'm a little bit disappointed in that. But it is on this platform called Tubi. I don't know if people are familiar with it. I just learned about this platform called Tubi, but it's free to use. It's free for people to access. So people now can actually access the film. I haven't publicly said it because honestly, I haven't been too happy about the idea that it didn't go the way I planned. Yeah, it didn't go on Amazon Canada the way I was told.
Does Tubi have a link?
Tubi does have a link.
Okay.
There's an app for it. It's literally like Amazon. There's an app for it. Amazon Prime to be very specific. There's an app for it. If you go on your television, smart TV, there is an option to download, to get it up on there. Just, create your account and it's free to use and you're able to access the film.
So what would you want our viewers to do? You want them to go and watch it using Tubi?
Yes, that's the platform that it is on right now. As Amazon in Canada, the US, the Americans are good. My cousins, my family has watched it. Even my father's American mother, before she passed, she actually watched the film.
Okay, good.
So that was kind of beautiful to hear. And she's in the States, so she was able to watch it. But it's just us Canadians. It's not on Amazon Canada. I want to say yet because I'm still hoping that something could work out. But it's on Tubi.
Yeah.
So people can watch it that way.
That's good. That's good. I like the fact that throughout your life, even though there are challenges and there's ups and downs, hills and valleys, you are always able to pivot or adapt, or you move with what is actually happening. So you don't fight against it, you just work and still work towards your goal. And those are very important characteristics to have. Not a lot of people know that when you're going through challenges are not there to stop you in your tracks. They are there, they present themselves, and it's for you to still work through them and reach towards your goals.
It has not been easy, but one person I do it for the film, one person I will thank is my producing partner, Syddonna Brown, because over the years, I think it was 8 years, she was consistently reminding me of the goal and reminding me of what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm really appreciative to her for that. The fact that it was completed. It's over here.
Kandice, high achievers can sometimes face pressures to conform to societal standards. How do you navigate staying true to your Christian faith and striving towards excellence at the same time?
Great question. I think it starts off just knowing who you are, knowing what your boundaries are, knowing what you're willing to, what you feel comfortable dealing with and what you feel like it's off the table. So once you know yourself, then you're able to apply that to anything that you do. When it comes to being a landlord, I don't face any of those challenges necessarily there. I try to make sure I'm an honest person, so I don't feel like I'm coming down to any, I'm coming down from my standard. When it came to the film, I think I expected everyone to reach and meet me at my level. So we had rules on set. We asked people to not curse. We asked people to not smoke and do any of that stuff. Now, not everyone was Christian. You know, there was hired help. So I cannot conform them to make them not do what they want to do, but I can create a space where I say, okay, in this space, this is not what's going to happen. You know, so I feel like when you're confident and you're comfortable within yourself and what you believe, you could comfortably say that to other people and they will respect you for that. And even if you respect them as a person, they will still respect you for that. So I feel like my challenges in those spaces, in those environments, that is something that I've been able to manage. Even work-wise, they understand me, they know who I am, they know I'm a Christian. I don't force it in their face, but eventually they'll find out. Eventually they'll know who I am. They eventually, depending on how deep conversation goes, down the road they'll find out my dad's a pastor. It's not something that I'm like, you know, hello, hi.
I'm the bishop's daughter.
No.
Okay.
You know, some people go a while before they find that out. But if they just know who you are and they respect you, it will be easier for you to uphold yourself and be able, and honestly, they won't expect less from you if you are being consistent in who you are. I find that the people who crumble, they're the ones who are not sure of themselves. They just adapt to whoever's around them. My people know that I just don't play games. And not that I'm a serious person, but I'm not a fake person, right? I'm not going to act
one way. You're consistent.
I'm very consistent, right? I'm not going to act one way in front of you and then behind you, I'm just like,
so they know when you're acting out of character.
Exactly. You know, and honestly, I don't feel like I ever act out of character because I'm very consistent in what I do. I'm not perfect, but I'm just not going to be fake. You know, there's different layers to everyone, so I'm not going to be comfortable being Candice, right, in every setting and every space, because that's not, you know, that's not the time or space to do it every time. But I feel like if you see me at work, you're going to know it's the same Candice that sees me at church. I may be louder in different spaces, and they'll be like, oh, Candice, I didn't know. But in terms of who I am from the core, it's going to be consistent, right? So I feel like once you know who you are, and we should all know who we are, you will be able to uphold and keep your standard.
One last question, Kandice. What advice would you give to individuals in church who aspire to make a positive impact?
Okay, so one thing I would say is that if you're a young person and you really want to make an impact, I feel like you should just first know what your goals are, know what you're passionate about, and just ask God to lead you to that space where you're able to allow that to foster and grow. I feel like in the right environment, you'll be able to impact your name. And honestly, sometimes you create your space yourself. A lot of people are taking the initiative to create their own businesses, or they have YouTube channels, or they have mentorship programs. They're doing things on their own, as well as the space in their community, as well as in the church. So just know what you feel like you're called to do, and just look to see where that space is, whether you're starting in your house, whether you're starting in a community, or if you're starting that out in church. And just grow from there. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to ask for mentorship. You know, there's going to be people who can help you grow, help you improve, because we're not perfect. We all can use the advice of others. So don't think you know it all, but just have that heart and willingness to grow. Then you'll be right on the right path to make a positive impact in your community as well as outside for the world to see.
And there you have it. It was a wonderful episode today. We promised you nuggets of wisdom. We promised you an exciting episode, and we had one today. And we just want to encourage everybody. It doesn't matter where in life you are right now. It doesn't matter the season. There is hope for you, and you can continue to dream big. There is ups and downs. You can't look at anybody and judge them. You know, you can't say to yourself, this is what I'm in today, so tomorrow is going to look like this as well. No, anything can happen for you. Continue to dream big, write your dreams down, and continue to work towards them. I'm going to encourage you, our transcenders, to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me. Tell them, push the button below, subscribe, and be a part of this community where we are unlocking truth and transcending lives. Join us next week, and we hope you have a blessed week. Walk good. Wait! Don't go. Click the link below in the description box to find the movie that we were just talking about. It's called The Protege. Written well, the actors did well, everything about it is like a well-written Hollywood movie. Watch it and comment below. I know you're going to enjoy it. Thank me later. Bye.